That's fine. I'll watch it.
So I guess we're live. Today we're gonna be reverse redacting Tom Cruise. Been thinking about him lately. I'm going to play. The reason I've been thinking about him is because of this trailer that just came out. Let me see if I can get to it here real quick. This is great TV.
While you're doing that, I'm just like observing your surroundings behind you. You look like you've got like kind of looks like it's Dr. Emmett Brown's lab back there, where you're like building a time machine or something.
Yeah. Let me make sure this is the right one. What are you talking about, like, specifically?
I just see I see your old snowball mic, and then I see looks like the top of a lamp. I don't know. It's just like the way it was framed. Like the stuff was just a little bit out of focus, and so it just looked like a bunch of like spare parts where you're like trying to cobble together something.
Okay, well, I am, but you can't know about it. All right, let's play this. You guys ready? Can you hear it?
I don't know yet.
You can't hear that?
No, I did not hear the sound yet.
You don't hear any sound?
I think you'll have to go up to. I don't know if it'll.
I can play it through. See if. Can you guys?
Service.
You hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Years of service. Combat medals. Citations. Only man to shoot down 3 enemy planes in the last 40 years. Yet you can't get a promotion, won't retire. Despite your best efforts, you refuse to die. You should be at least a 2-star admiral by now. Yet here you are. Captain. What is that?
It's one of life's mysteries, sir.
The end is inevitable, Maverick. Your kind is headed for extinction.
Maybe so, sir. But not today.
Can I just say there's 2 things that I thought of watching that trailer. One, I told somebody else, like, I was waiting in that opening desert scene to see like Rey appear with her lightsaber and then do a backflip over his jet as it was speeding along, which I think would have been a great twist. Missed opportunity there. And the other thing is though, like, it reminds me, like, it definitely gives you the feel of like, not just like, the nostalgia of the original Top Gun, but even like old movie trailers, because it's kind of like, where Ed Harris is giving him that voiceover of him being the only man to shoot down 3 enemy fighters. It's kind of like the old Jerry Seinfeld comedian movie trailer, one man, and just certain little elements like that. So no, I thought it was great. Not even being a huge Top Gun fan. I mean, I liked it, but I mean, it's not a favorite of mine or something like that.
Yeah.
Somehow I wasn't really interested in after I heard about the sequel, but after seeing the trailer, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm kind of hyped for that now.
Okay, well, we'll get into it, but first, a little business. First, we have to do the simultaneous sigh. It's one of my favorite parts of the podcast, where we collectively get into it. There's something about taking a deep breath that is a little scary. I think it is a little scary for our body. I tell my guys, I used to, when I was doing group counseling, we do deep breathing, and I say it's impossible to have racing thoughts. It's almost impossible to have racing thoughts while you take deep breaths, and I think it's because your body goes into a certain kind of survival mode. It's like not a scary survival mode per se, but there's something scary about it for your body that you're breathing in a different way, right? You got to focus on the air. So let's take the simultaneous sigh. And so let's get rid of all our toxic breath, and then together take a giant sigh. All right, thanks, guys. Hope that was as good for you as is good for me. But so we start off together, also simultaneously watching the new Tom Cruise Top Gun episode. I mean, preview trailer, and I wanted to get your guys' reaction about the trailer, but I also want to talk about Tom Cruise. Go deeper, reverse redacting Tom Cruise and the icon that he's become. So I heard a little bit about how you felt about the trailer. Oh, and before we go on, also I want to set some ground rules for reverse redaction, or at least get your guys' takes on it. When we talk about things, to do things in I statements, try to keep things really in terms of our experience, and keep things as immediate and here now as possible, and try not to give advice, but instead ask questions as we look at these pieces of art, icons, creative works, and try to derive some kind of meaning out of it, and hopefully give us inspiration for our own creativity. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of got into the I statement thing last week, where you were wanting to make a big emphasis of that. So I
just want to reiterate that. What do you guys think about that, though?
No, I think it's great. I think we all have a habit of kind of sort of distancing ourselves from something by saying you or people or something like that. And I think that's for different reasons, but sometimes it's just like a protective measure, because if you say I, like you're really you're putting yourself out there. And so if someone rejects that, then it's a much more personal thing. So I think that's great.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, it helps with the accountability for sure.
So if you hear me or someone else saying you do this or we do this, or just excessively, I think it's okay to kindly say, hey, I often what I'll say is who, that'll kind of remind who does that, not in any kind of snotty way, or you can bring a little pinky to the chest, I statements. Okay. So Ford, what was your reaction to that preview? That was the first time seeing it for you.
Yeah. So I guess I had a really weird conversation with a dude at Mises University on, I guess it was Friday. I met the guy, I think No, maybe it was Saturday. It was the last day. Yeah, it was the last day of the conference. Uh, and we had a conversation about JBP, and I had recommended him read some George MacDonald, and he had recommended me read some Nietzsche. And then I was talking about Marshall McLuhan and how influential he's been with me. And McLuhan's whole objective with the Gutenberg galaxy, he was talking about how the printing press affected the wiring of our minds. And his basic idea was, up until the printing press, standardized text wasn't a thing. Everyone, maybe they tried to write uniformly, but Western phonetics was a written language. It was so you didn't see the same thing every time you opened a book page. And he said in the process of doing that, it did something to the Westerner's mind, whereas the Asian cultures like China, they had and I'm getting some of this wrong. It's going to be lost in translation here. I'm going to probably exaggerate what he meant. But in China, you've got pictures for your words. It's a very every character is its own meaning, and the calligraphy of the East is much more uniform. So in a way, it's almost block printing to begin with. But he says that something happened to our minds where we started, when we're reading book text, like it forced us to see abstraction on a page in a different way, and changed the with the Western human mind, I guess you would say. But in a different way than happened in the East. And so Neil Postman took this to say that really, as a Jew, he looks at all of modern pictures, whether it be photographs or film, video, as taking that the image that was printed on the page for the first time, even further, to the point that it's this mass-produced, basically a violation of the commandment to not make any representation of anything on heaven or on earth. Because when you do that as a human being, you don't have the capacity, even though you think you're smart, you don't have the capacity to realize the subconscious, subjective power that it has over you. And basically, it's made me think, I don't know, I've just been thinking about how true it is that you look at the history of modern film, especially in recent years, how we see something, and even though we don't believe it, we don't believe that Superman can fly, but there's something that it does to our collective consciousness where things on screen seem more real than the reality that we live, and then we start to live in these fantasy worlds more and more and more. And having hosted a couple of Comic-Cons in India, I really just see how pervasive this idea is. So all that to say, I just had this moment this weekend where I was just like, really conflicted about my filmmaking goals. That I think that I'm not saying that I'm going to cold turkey quit movies or whatever, but to be a lot more, maybe go more on a diet of what I intake. For one reason, we'd already talked about this a little bit, because I wanted to start making films and have a better output to input ratio.
Right.
So if I'm seeing 10 movies, I'm going to try to work on one. Or, maybe one just piece of something. Maybe it's just a scene, it's like, just to get that input output ratio better. But this weird conversation me and this dude had, I was just like, I don't even know if I really want to invest that much time in film as such, because it can be such a, Plato's metaphor of the cave. It's real easy for us to stare at the wall, instead of just walking out of the cave. And I think a lot of the dependencies and problems we have in our culture, our cultures and our societies around the world, is because we're so enamored with these images on a screen. And it has gone beyond. And that was Postman's point, is like, it doesn't just stay to the fictional screen. It also applies to the supposedly non-fictional screen of news and documentaries. And so that those end up coloring our example. So all that to say, I don't know, like, since having that conversation, I just have not, the thrill has been gone for me. Like anything I've watched in this last week. So I'm just not even really that interested. And the other thing being like when Lion King, the whole thing with Lion King and, you know, them rebooting all this Disney, it's just, it just feels like there's just, I have hit reboot. What is the word?
Oh yeah, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking.
Saturation,
critical mass.
Yes, really. Yeah, that's maybe it. Maybe I just feel like fatigued. I've hit reboot critical mass fatigue, and so seeing this, I just feel the same way I would have felt when, you know, Blood Work came out. Remember that, Jared?
Is that the Clint
Eastwood? That's
Yeah,
the one. We were joking about that back in college, and you were making us like, watch this 78-year-old man do a somersault. It's so comical.
Oh, dude, can you imagine like if it gets announced that like next year Blood Work 2.
Dude, that's what we should do.
You will go see Blood Work 2. I will make you go see Blood Work 2.
I think when you come down, Jared, we should make a Blood Work 2 trailer. Just like sweet it, not film anything. We'll just write the script for the trailer and then just huge images, you know, like this hobbling on Clint Eastwood. Somersault.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be like on the budget. It'll be like that series on a budget. It'll be like Blood Work 2 on a budget. That's what we'll do. Yeah.
Blood Work 2 on a budget. Because Clint Eastwood has to spend all his money on medical bills.
Yeah.
So that's about how I felt seeing Tom Cruise. I mean, God bless him. But I just seeing his face, I'm like, is that a human being anymore? Or are we looking at the android replacement? Like,
well, I had a similar reaction when watching it. First of all, I never really got into the original one. Did you guys? Did
I
you
was
like
a little late.
Top Gun?
I was a little late to the party. My parents wouldn't let me watch movies like that when I was a kid. So I saw it like for the first time from beginning to end in high school. So there's none of this Goonies sort of nostalgia for me with Top Gun.
No.
Like by the time I saw it, it was already like it was 80s when it wasn't cool to be 80s. It was like, you know, the disaffected 90s Nirvana youth. Why? Oh, the 80s. Oh, so dumb, man. You know, so I didn't really get it back then.
Yeah, because I think that it has like a certain, or elicits a certain feeling in people. But for me, it's an interesting little tune. But I do think what's interesting about the preview is sort of the meta discussion, the meta commentary on Cruise himself.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm just going to keep going and doing my thing. And that's what he does.
Yeah.
He just keeps producing. He's still the top guy.
It is remarkable. I have these sort of conflicted thoughts about Tom Cruise because on one hand, like I don't watch many of his movies anymore because I can't see anything but Tom Cruise. To me, I mean, he basically just plays, you know, he does like, I don't know what his range is, but mostly it seems like he plays generally the same character. And but at the same time, like I have and he's also got this weird, like, you know, personal life with Scientology and all this stuff. But at the same time, like I do have a lot of respect for the fact that, like you said, he does just keep going. I have a lot of respect for the fact that he'll do his own stunts. You know, I mean, he probably like learned how to fly a fighter jet and actually flew these things themselves or something, you know. So, you know, he like broke his leg on, I can't remember, maybe it was the last Mission Impossible, doing a stunt on that. So I have a lot of respect for him, but
have you seen that clip? Have you seen the clip where he jumps from one building to another?
Yeah.
And his leg just goes, and he keeps playing this. He keeps going through the scene, like keeps playing.
Yeah.
Through it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's impossible for me not to respect him, but I just rarely take in his movies anymore, just because I don't see whatever character he's playing. I just see Tom Cruise as some guy.
Yeah, if I'm gonna glory in a stuntman, it's gonna be Jackie Chan. It's not gonna be Cruise. I respect I don't know. There's just something still just pretentious about the whole thing. Like when I see Jackie do it, it's like that's what he made his career doing. So for me to see Cruise do it, it's just like he's doing it. To me, it just is like a vanity project, you know. And as somebody who is willing to do crazy, stupid stuff, and I've always done that. Like if there's enough people, like, well, I'll put $20 on it, I'll just do it. I'll do it without the money. Like I just do stupid stuff, and I you know, I almost died on the dock one day doing something really dumb. And it's just like, so it doesn't really like impress me in that sense, because I would totally do everything that he's doing for the amount of money he's making, like without question. Like if that, so whereas I feel like it was more pure when Jackie Chan was doing it, when he started out his career, like he had like he basically invented he took what Bruce Lee started, but then took it to this almost ballet choreography with his entourage, you know, and they made this whole new martial art form of dodging and you know, when you see Jackie run up the side of a building or something, like between a palm tree and the building, it's just like, wait a minute, what? You just have to rewind it and see it again. And with Cruise's stuff, it's very cinema. It's very like blockbuster focused, where it's where it's like, yeah, I know he's doing that, but I know that helicopter there is, you know, it's I don't know, it's a little more set piecey. I feel like in the most recent Mission Impossible, I was really, my suspension of disbelief is just like, I thought the final fight between him and Henry Cavill was just like, I don't know, like it just didn't work for me. Like, even though it's absolutely ridiculous, the kinds of stuff they're doing, and it's impressive that he's doing what he's doing. It's, I'm not trying to say, but I don't know. It feels like a career from another era, and I'm just over it.
Well, there's too much stylization for me. I've been watching a lot of digital, what is it called? I can't remember their names, but the behind the scenes, they kind of critique special effects type stuff, and they were talking about, there was a guy who was on the set for that movie and is talking about how Cruise actually jumped out of the plane. Everything is filmed in real life, you know, like flying through the air with it, you know, having not pulled his parachute yet and that kind of thing. All that stuff is real. But then they go and add these like lightning, you know, they add lightning and stuff and makes it look really fake. And so they were saying, like, well, why would you really, you know, really film it
just
and then go through, and it looks like a green screen.
It's the George Lucas school of special effects. Oh man.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense. So I do think there's a lot of that with Tom Cruise. I love Tom Cruise. He's one of my favorite actors. But there's the stylization that really takes away from any rawness that you might get from Jackie Chan or you know, like the first Taken, you know. There's no rawness. It's stylized.
Yeah, see, it's like, after watching a Tom Cruise, let's say Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which was probably the last time that I was like I was into it. Like I love the Burj Khalifa scenes, and you know, I don't know, I was still on board with the whole enterprise at that point. But then I don't know, a lot's happened since then. When I got back to America, I was very disillusioned about a lot of things, and YouTube was falling apart. That was the beginning of the end of YouTube, but there was still, I would say, the last, you know, the four horsemen of the YouTube apocalypse, Filthy Frank, Max Mofo, Ian, what's his name, iDubbbz, and what's that other guy's name? And so they did some of their videos together, and they would just do stupid stuff. Have you ever seen the Human Twister, the Crazy Twister, or whatever? Like they had this twister board set up, and they were basically like Jackass for a new generation. But some of the stuff they were doing is like they had to put their toe, if they hit one, they had to put their toe into a rat trap, and They had to get tased on their balls or something, and the hair cake one is one of the most epic. And knowing that they're doing all that crap, and you can tell that they're actually doing it because they eat this cake made of hair until they start puking on each other.
Oh my god!
And so seeing that, I was like, Tom Cruise couldn't do this. I was like, I don't care, Tom. Like, you're just not going to do it. And that to me was like the end of like all this. I don't like style, like you said, stylized stunt for show.
Mm.
You know, instead of like intrinsic study of character. Like there's something about this next generation that I think is just not going to buy this crap anymore. They're bored by this stuff.
Well, like you were saying, it does feel like, you know, from another era, and just like Judah was saying, you know, the kind of talking about the meta commentary, because you know, in Top Gun or in the sequel, it sounds like, you know, that's kind of course, the storyline is like we've just moved on to a point where, you know, we have drones. You know, we don't conduct war in the same way that we used to. And so I'm curious to see how they're going to approach that in the movie. Like, most likely something's going to happen. I think this was how Jeremy Johns said it in his reaction video to it. But he said, you know, like, most likely something's going to happen. And
they're going to need him.
They're going to need him. But he's like, wouldn't it really be interesting if just like none of that happened and it turned out he just had to retire or take a promotion or something like that, you know? Because that's what would happen in the real world.
Right.
So, yeah. So it's a very, looks like it's going to be a very meta movie. This should just be like his last movie. You know, he should do like a Quentin Tarantino thing, where Quentin Tarantino, we'll see if he actually does it, but he says he's going to do 10 films. Like, this would just be the perfect way for Tom Cruise to like bookend his career, you know?
Right.
Well, it's not. He's got Live, Die, Repeat, and Repeat coming out.
Wait, it's actually called Live, Die, Repeat, and Repeat?
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Well, now,
Yeah.
you know, you did. So one thing that I really love about Tom Cruise is so Tom Cruise and Nicolas Cage have something in common, and that is that they will take these weird movies. They will do these weird movies. Now, Nick Cage will just do any piece of crap that comes up.
He needs, you know, that man needs money.
So
he's got expensive tastes, Nicolas Cage.
Cruise doesn't need money, so he takes these weird roles. I love it. You know, if you think about Les Grossman, the fat guy he plays on Tropic Thunder.
I mean, that rebooted his career after the whole Scientology thing.
Couch jumping. Was that the first thing after the couch jumping?
Well, he disappeared for a long period of time after the Katie Holmes debacle. I never went back and watched. I just watched a couple seconds of his heated interview with
Matt Lauer.
Yeah, that guy.
No, was it Matt Lauer?
Yeah, it was Matt Lauer.
Yeah, the couch jumping thing was with Oprah.
And, yeah, it was Oprah.
But then he had the heated interview over
Scientology
and
chemical
imbalance and drugs, like, you know, drugs for, you know, mental disorders and things.
Well,
like that.
Interestingly enough, I just went back and watched that one part where he calls him glib.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I agree with Tom Cruise. I can't believe it, but I actually agree with the Scientologist here.
Right. No, I do too. And it's just funny in light of, you know, what went down later with Matt Lauer, you know.
I know.
You know, things have kind of turned on their head in that situation.
Tom Cruise, Hollywood's Trump. Like, he gets the last laugh.
Interesting.
Everyone laughed at Tom Cruise. Oh, he's an idiot Scientologist. And now we're all like, wait a minute, opioid crisis. Oh, wait, Tom Cruise was right. Matt Lauer's glib, and he's an asshole.
Right.
Well, that's one thing that I've been thinking about, as far as I've been thinking a lot about aging. You know, I'm watching people age. I'm watching people go through, you know, in my family, go through cancer and stuff like that. And I'm thinking about, I'm watching my dad age. I think that's what really brings it home to me. And thinking about me and keeping myself from deteriorating as much as possible. Being against alcohol, being against, you know, like being against drugs, taking that aspect out of your life, it's interesting. On one hand, I want to live forever, but on the other hand, I live as if I'm gonna die tomorrow. You know, like I don't take care of my body, and I put all this crap in my body, specifically alcohol. When I think about how alcohol is gonna make me an old man, an old broken down man. You know.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that. This is interesting coincidental timing, but like I heard last night that my like longtime doctor, mostly doctor when I was a kid and in my teenage years, and since I moved away, you know, 10 or 15 years ago, I hadn't really seen him, but I heard that he passed away, and he was only 62, 63, and he really sad story because I guess his parents both died young, and he was always really concerned about dying young and like working too hard and missing out on his life. So he actually retired at one point, and then I think like, you know, in his 50s retired, early 50s maybe, and then eventually needed to go back to work. I guess he just maybe hadn't saved enough money, and so he did go back to work. But he was mostly like kind of a regular guy, maybe a little bit, you know, overweight most of the time I knew him. And then when I saw him for the first time in a long time, a few years ago, he had gained so much weight. I mean, like my jaw literally dropped because he just looked like a different person. But yeah, but it was this sort of weird contrast of, you know, here was a guy who was always worried about dying young, and so much so that he retired at an unusually, or tried to retire at an unusually young age, but then let himself go so much that, you know, I mean, he was, I mean, you could just look at the man and see like he's a, you know, heart attack waiting to happen. So,
right. Yeah, I go back and forth on this because, you know, in my podcast, we're constantly talking about trying to preserve a multifaceted approach to life where we're not just becoming specialists and just, you know, becoming like these monks in a certain area, you know, just focused on one thing. And I don't know where I come down, you know, like for all of Trump's vices and problems, one of the things I do admire about the man is carving his career in the New York socialite area, but never drinking, being a teetotaler his entire life. And I think that has made him very efficient. And how do you even navigate that as in so many social situations? Like, nah, and without being like a fuddy-duddy annoying person. And he's, you know, he's managed to inhabit that whole world, but never be like a fuddy-duddy, obviously. You know, I mean, there's many problems, but not necessarily being, you know, a book on the wall, I guess. So yeah, like try to, because there's a lot of situations like being in the working class, like just drinking with people is kind of expected. You don't have to, and I mean, you can do so without being annoying. But there are days where it's hard not to.
It's a social sacrament.
It's a social sacrament. That's a really good way of putting it, Judah. Yeah, I love that.
Because eating and drinking, well, you know, crapping are you know, these are things that we all do all the time, you know, but we're not going to crap together. We're going to eat and drink together, you know?
Yeah.
It's really annoying for me because I don't drink. I never have drink. It's not anything to do. It's not a moral thing. Like I don't drink Cokes. I don't drink soft drinks. I just don't like the taste of them. I would drink alcohol in a heartbeat before I would drink a Coke, but I still don't like alcohol. And it's always been like, I get frustrated with it because, I mean, now, like if I'm in a social setting or something that requires it, I'll get a drink just so I don't have to, explain. Like when I did a year of grad school at Georgia Southern, and I remember we had a opening semester party at one of our professors' houses, kind of welcoming party, and it was our class and the class that was ahead, and so we were all standing around talking, and and there was a guy that was just staring at me the whole time, like I had a bomb in my hands. And so I could see he just couldn't take it any longer. And he's like, so like, do you not drink? And I'm like, yeah, not really. I mean, I will once in a while, but just not all that much, He's like, oh yeah. A few more minutes go by and he's like, so like not at all? Or, and it was just such a huge hang up for him. And I'm not like, again, like I don't do it for any kind of moral reasons. I try desperately, like, I've always tried not to bring attention to it because I knew other people would. And so there's like Jim Gaffigan has a joke about it where he says, because I think he's maybe the same way, or I can't remember if he came up with this joke outside of that or whatever, but he says, it's such a funny thing. It would be, if you really think about it, it would be as weird as someone not liking mayonnaise or not having mayonnaise on their sandwich, and then people just being like, you don't like mayonnaise? Like, not at all? And I mean, to me, that is kind of what it's like.
Yeah,
like,
that's true. That's true.
It's not, because I'm not someone who's preaching about it or anything like that. And so now I just do it just to avoid, having to explain or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely is a stupid part of it. It should be a celebration or of, an Epicurean celebration, but it's treated as just like oil, and I think that's a lot of problem with the consumer society in general, although it has been a problem throughout history, but it's something that I think that's uniquely crazy about the 20th and 19th and 20th, 21st centuries is like sex, drugs, music, and booze are just like, yep, you need these things to survive.
Yeah. Well, I literally got to a point where I thought about telling people, like, especially after that interaction, I got to a point where I thought about telling people, like, bro, I can't. Like, I'm an alcoholic. Like, I just love it so much. I mean, like, who wouldn't love alcohol? Like, just, alcohol, can't get enough of it. And so, like, I can't, if I take even a sip, I would be like fighting all of you for your drinks and just guzzling them. So I love it that much.
That's a really good idea.
That's fantastic.
I want you to do that and come back.
Yeah,
and
do it. Let's do
report.
that as a sketch. Let's do that as a sketch when you get out of here. Like,
But Tom Cruise is one of these guys who, like you, Jared, who has put health. I mean, you're a healthy guy, and I think one of my biggest problems is in life, what I'm finding is that I put personal comfort over personal success. 9 times out of 10, I'll choose personal comfort. I'll choose convenience. I'll choose the easy route, and Tom Cruise to me is somebody, I guess the thing I admire about him the most is it's kind of like what you were talking about earlier, Ford, about what Teal's thing. He has gone all in on this one thing, and he is this thing. He is America's movie actor, America's I guess actor. Yeah. And he just has this kind of like Trump, I would say, just everything else is peripheral, and I'm just going to dedicate myself to this and be this, and I love it. He loves it.
Yeah, singular focus for sure.
Yeah,
that's one of the things.
If you can be that way. Yeah, I was just going to say, if you can be that way, if that lines up with with your personality and what you want to do, I mean, that's just it's just the roadmap to success if you're good at it, because I caught part of your Ford's podcast you guys were doing earlier, where you were talking about like how helpful it is to be singularly focused. I mean, in some ways, I mean, it can be detrimental, but in terms of like success, if you can be singularly focused and you're good at it, then that's a good path to success. Otherwise, you're kind of just pulled in all these different directions. But
The interesting thing to me is he plays like there's something meta about his characters in that he always plays these kind of like the microcosm of this character running as fast as he can towards this one thing is so indicative of his whole life. You know,
True.
there's something artistic about that for me in that he does always play the same character, you know, except when he plays I mean, I will say he plays these weirdo characters, you know, like in he played like the rock star,
Yeah.
different like he'll play these little roles, but when he plays the main character, he plays this person who is sold out
Yeah.
on one ideal, you know, and he shows it and he lives it and he is sold out to something, you know, like he is the best example I've ever seen of somebody who's just like of seeing it played out action wise, you know.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I had never really thought of it that way, but you're right. He does play characters that are completely sold out on something, and that ties to his professional life and his personal life and everything else. That is interesting.
Ford, any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the embodiment of what you're talking about, what Teal's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that's what I meant earlier when it's just like signs of a bygone era. Like that was maybe the 20th century's the 20th century Fox version of Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, you know, but not Ayn Rand's vision of what Atlas would look like, and not I think the version of Atlas we need in the 21st century. It's going to be. It was my same complaint like with the first Jedi reboot or whatever sequel. Which one's it? Force Awakens? Is that the first one?
Yeah, the first sequel was The Force Awakens. Yeah.
Okay, so in that one, I think I wrote a review and I said that this giant, like almost hyperbolic extension of the Death Star, the Star Killer base that cannot just blow up one planet in a system where it actually has to move to the system. No, this one can blow up 7 planets across multiple systems. It's just so comically absurd of an exaggeration of the problem of before, and it's going in the wrong direction. Like the future is not a threat of some giant monolithic entity that is, you know, a new fascist state. It's not China that we need to be worried about. It's arguments with one another, and it's artificial intelligence. Like those two things are the things. It's dissolution, you know. So how can we find a way to be unique, 7 billion unique people, without just killing each other out of frustration with how weird we all are? Because we're never again going to agree on anything, because we have the internet, we have access to all these things that you're going to, you know, brother will be against brother. Like that was a prophecy for now. It was not a prophecy for fascist Germany. It was like 2019 years or 2014 years ahead of its time. Brother will be against brother. You're going to be like adversaries. I have one Indian viewer who's just pouring his soul out this week about how he sees nothing in common with his family. He feels like an alien in his own home because they're living this 1950s version of Indian reality. And they have no clue that it does not align with 2019 at all. They're living in a time capsule. And I feel the same way when I walk into a church. You know, it's the same. People all around the world are feeling this because there's no way to keep up. It's just impossible. How do you keep up with these punctuated equilibrium moments? Like I said, there's going to be an app probably in the next week that we're not going to know about that's going to have butterfly affecting ramifications that in a year we're just going to be like, whoa. I mean, in the blink of an eye, Facebook will be dead. In the blink of an eye. But we can't imagine how that could happen. But, you know, there are people who couldn't imagine that you know, AOL would be dead. And like, I was thinking about You've Got Mail today because I was at Starbucks, and just I still think it's a great scene where Tom Hanks is making fun of how Starbucks is your method of defining a unique identity. And so I was getting my frappuccino, tall decaf cappuccino. I was getting it, and I was just thinking about how AOL, what a time capsule that movie is, and how you've got mail will make no sense to my daughter. Like, what are they talking about? You've got mail. What is mail? What is email? You know, like, wait, you use email? You don't use Instagram messages? What's wrong with you? You don't use Snapchat? So like, there are things that are going to change so quickly. And so I feel like that line that ironically the old man, Ed Harris, is saying to Tom Cruise, you're a product of a bygone era, Maverick. It's true. It's true. It's like a Trump and Robert Kraft are like more up with the times than like some baby boomers, you know? You're just like, how? Because they pay attention to the internet. It's like Robert Kraft, the guy behind the Patriots, owns an Overwatch team. When there are so many people like, oh, video games are dumb. I'm done with video games. Read my book. It's like you're writing a book, and this old man is investing in Overwatch. You know, so
it's go ahead.
No. I was just going to ask. So what's your favorite Tom Cruise movie then?
Oh, that is a good.
I mean,
question.
for all of us, then we could each.
Yeah.
Favorite Tom Cruise movie.
Let me read through them.
Okay, that's a good idea because
I'm gonna read through.
Okay.
Endless Love, Taps, Outsiders. The Outsiders, Losing It, Risky Business, All the Right Moves, Legend, Top Gun, The Color of Money, Cocktail, Rain Man, Born on the 4th of July, Days of Thunder, Far and Away, A Few Good Men, The Firm, Interview with a Vampire, Mission Impossible, Jerry Maguire, Eyes Wide Shut, Amy Man, Save Me, never heard of that, Magnolia, Mission Impossible 2, Vanilla Sky, Minority Report, Austin Powers, in Goldmember. I forgot about that one. The Last Samurai, Collateral, War of the Worlds, Mission Impossible 3, Lions for Lambs. Not seen that one. Never heard of that one. Tropic Thunder, Valkyrie, Night and Day, spelled with Knight and Day. I don't remember that one. Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, Rock of Ages, Jack Reacher, Oblivion, Edge of Tomorrow, Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, Jack Reacher, Never Go Back, The Mummy. Oh man, The Mummy. American Made, Mission Impossible, Fallout, and then oncoming ones are Top Gun and Live, Die, Repeat.
So I can easily give you just very quickly my favorite. And my favorite one to hate is my favorite one was Minority Report, easily, because it's not just like a Tom Cruise movie. Like, it's a good movie that features Tom Cruise.
Philip K. Dick, baby.
There you go. And then my favorite one to just watch and kind of mock, because it's still entertaining, but it's just so ridiculously over the top, is Mission Impossible 2.
Yes.
Oh gosh,
I agree.
That car thing with Thandie Newton. Is it Thandie Newton?
Yeah, that was the one she was in. Yeah.
You talk about stylistic.
Oh man, it's Bollywood level bad.
Yeah, it is. Yes, that's exactly it. It's Bollywood level.
So I almost didn't marry my wife because she was a huge fan of Mission Impossible 2. I almost did not date her.
That's fantastic.
I had to get over that hurdle early on in our relationship.
It's like my wife with cats. She had a conversation with me. I come home. She's like, has a stray cat on her lap, and she's petting the cat. And she's like, I have made my decision, and this is going to be our outside cat. I have really thought it through, and I am dying on this hill, or something to that effect. I was like, geez, how immutable is that divorce law again? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Melissa. But like, yeah, so Mission Impossible 2 and Cats, like I could see it. Like you have to. I mean, she's sacrificed way more than. So yeah, she's earned her cat. But I could get the Mission Impossible 2 being almost game breaking.
It's so gloriously bad. It's
It is.
Oh man, going back and watching some of this Pierce Brosnan Bonds where he's like does a 360 in the tank. I'm like, this is full bore South India action movie.
Yeah.
Like, and he's doing 360 in a tank in a European street. I can't even.
Maybe we should do a Holly Bolly for American movies.
Oh man, yeah. Someone had said that they were talking about that one with Channing Tatum and Jupiter Ascending, I think.
Oh
Jupiter.
yeah,
It's like, you need to do one for that. Oh man,
that would be good. Well, what is your favorite? What is out of that list? What is your favorite? What stood out to you?
So I'm gonna cheat as usual and go with my top three. I say Minority Report. I'm with Jared on that one. That's my favorite one. I feel like in terms of, you're going to be stylistic about it. If you're going to make an adaptation that is commercially appealing, Philip K. Dick's source material there has a different bent. It has a different focus, and I honestly can't even remember the turn it takes. But I thought that was a really great action sci-fi, and I thought Cruise was perfect for it. I liked Max von Sydow. Golly, what a god tier, man! It's a great Hollywood film. It doesn't get much better than than that for a mainstream Hollywood film. So yeah, I agree with Jared on that. What was one of the other ones you said? Like, I've never seen Vanilla Sky or Magnolia. Those are two I think I should catch up with. And I've never seen, but in terms of importance, I think, especially considering what's going on in our current day and age, I think. Why am I blanking? The Kubrick one, Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh yeah.
I'd say Eyes Wide Shut is probably his most important contribution, and the fact that he could work alongside Kubrick Kubrick's a very difficult, auteur. And Nicole Kidman actually said after Kubrick died that because he died before the movie was released, that Kubrick told her that it's pedophiles that run the world. Wow. And that movie is about a basically a sex cult who's in power, and a very, very interesting analog to the Epstein thing that's coming down now. So I think Cruise has his pulse on a lot more than we give him credit for. We probably just write him off as a crazy Scientologist, celebrity hack. I think watching that interview with Lauer, it makes me wonder if he just realized he couldn't talk too much about certain things, that there were too many vested interests that would, in the pharmaceutical industry, that would just kind of make him irrelevant. So he just decided, okay, I can't talk about this anymore. I'm just going to make movies and be an impact on in whatever way that I can. So,
well, it's interesting because he's not preachy with his movies. None of his movies are preachy that I can think of.
They don't feel Scientology evangelical. I would say that for him. Yeah.
I would like to go, or at least start watching his movies, thinking about what message is what is the message here?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, when I watched the last Mission Impossible, it just felt so hero worshipy, it just felt so, I don't know. It just didn't really grab me.
Yeah. I haven't even seen the last two Mission Impossibles. My favorite one's still the first one, because again,
it's my favorite too.
It didn't feel like a Tom Cruise dominated movie. It just felt like a good movie that Tom Cruise was in. Even though he was, the star of it. I think it's almost like with him, he's got so much power, as a star that I think after they did Mission Impossible 2, was it Ang Lee? I think maybe it was Ang Lee that did Mission Impossible 2.
It was.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so they talked to him afterwards, and he was just trying to disassociate himself from it. And he's like, well, it's not really an Ang Lee movie. It's a Tom Cruise movie. And I think that's kind of my problem with a lot of Tom Cruise movies, is you know, he's got so much power, and just from what things I've heard and seen and read behind the scenes, that you know, he just takes control of it. You know, he's pretty maybe not in a difficult to work with or condescending or mean sort of way on set, but he's just like a control freak on set. And so I think it's almost one of those things where, you know, some filmmakers can get complete control, and not like have enough rope to hang themselves with. Like Christopher Nolan, you know, he's probably got as much freedom and autonomy as anybody, but I still like the stuff that he puts out. It's rare for me to not like a Christopher Nolan movie, but I think most, you know, most people with that kind of power in Hollywood end up like without any kind of reins, just like going too far, getting out on a limb that I don't want to really follow him out on.
Mm-hmm. My favorite movie is Rain Man. That's of all his movies, Rain Man to me has most. It's an important movie for my life. It was a movie that brought like I watched it at a young age with my brother and my dad. It's continued to be inside joke factory for us and my family, and you know, I work with young men on the autistic spectrum now, so it has an interesting like you know, role to play in my life. That was my first exposure. You know, I think it was America's first exposure to autism.
Probably.
Yeah, and I do quote that a lot. Definitely Judge Wapner. Well, I used to definitely Judge Wapner.
Yeah,
Qantas, definitely Qantas. And yeah, he does a good performance. Cruise. I mean, just that feeling of frustration, not being able to communicate, and you know, being teetering on the edge there.
But also having like those sensitive moments where this rich, you know, jackass who's trying to get one up on people through using his brother, like he has these sensitive, like real touching moments with Dustin Hoffman, and you know, kind of tear-jerking moments. Like, wow, it just made magical through his acting. My other favorite one, as far as just the action, I love Collateral. I think it's the only one where he plays a bad guy.
I forget about Collateral. Like, I forget that Collateral exists, but yeah, whenever somebody brings it up, I'm like, oh yeah, Collateral was great. Yeah.
I honestly, I was going to mention Jack Reacher too. As far as
like Jack Reacher,
dumb mainstream action, you know, hero movie. That movie is kind of fun, and
it is.
And the Robert Duvall at the end just makes my day. It's just a lot of fun with Duvall.
Yeah, I saw the second Jack Reacher, Never Go Back. I saw that on a plane or something. Not half as good. It's kind of a terrible movie in some ways, but still had these. I don't know. It seems like all his movies. I haven't seen The Mummy. I haven't seen. I want to see American Made. I haven't seen that. But there's always a fun element in all his movies. It's just, you know, like it doesn't. His movies don't take risks as far as story goes. They're pretty straightforward, but when you were talking about he always plays the same character, what came to my mind was, for me, it's like the band that always plays the same kind of music, but that's why I love them. You know, you know, those bands that they get famous and then they change, you know, like I hate that. I just make the same kind of music, you know, and that's what I love about Tom Cruise is, you know, what you're going to get, and it's pretty good.
Well, you know, I was thinking like the modern day Tom Cruise is The Rock. Because I mean, you know what you're going to get. It's going to be a fun. You know, his movies are more lighthearted, but they're action movies. He's multicultural. You know, I mean, it to me, it's like The Rock is sort of the modern day Tom Cruise to me.
Wait, how is Tom Cruise multicultural?
No.
Iraq.
I'm saying The Rock is more modern day because he is multicultural.
Gotcha. Upgrade. That's the upgrade.
Yeah. Right.
Gotcha.
So I don't know.
Future president of the United States.
Probably.
Dwayne Johnson.
Probably. Yeah.
Oh, he'll be running, but no, he'll lose.
You think?
Yeah, he'll lose to a memer or to Kanye.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I don't think The Rock can lose. If he ran,
I think you underestimate the autism of the younger people in this culture.
what do you mean?
I mean, the people I met this week were, I met kids that were saying stuff. I'm like, what? Where did you get that from?
Give me an example.
Again, like I don't feel at liberty to say.
What?
I mean, I met like this one kid was so smart. He showed me a map that's like has information that he had to show to the Pentagon. Like, and it was on his freaking phone, man.
Wow.
Yeah, and no, he's not making it up. Like some of these people were just super. He was in a room with Peter Thiel and like had a business meeting with him. When I asked him what Peter Thiel was like, he's like, "Well, I don't actually know. I just know him from business." But just this next generation, like you think about the Russian hacker meme, right? Like, okay, well, there are such things as Russian hackers, and these people are so smart that they're not duped by mainstream sophistry and mainstream image. They're just immune to the stuff that works. And while again, it seems like you're king of the world 1 minute, and then the next minute Donald Trump is beating you. Like things are moving so fast under the superstructure of the mainstream. YouTube, as an entity, like the trending tab that's won by Condé Nast right now. I learned that this week that Condé Nast basically has an agreement with Google, and so that's why all these, crap tier magazine content is on the top, is because they have a deal. It's basic. I mean, it's totally cheating. But nobody with any skin in the game is paying attention to that stuff. So that Nassim Taleb meme about skin in the game, it's the people with skin in the game that are the real atlas of the 21st century, and they're making the world turn. So 12 people in a room that have control of memes are more powerful than The Rock ever could hope to be. And so that's why I don't think we'll ever see a Rock Hanks presidency. I think I'm far more likely to see some random weirdo, that we don't even know about, a black dude on Snapchat that, that nobody's heard of, but just is very like involved in meme culture or something like that. Like, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, the future is Trump was the logjam break, and we'll just, because now people realize it can be done. One of the things that the president of Mises U said, he was like, as an independent, because most of these people didn't vote for anybody. They just refused to vote for Clinton or Trump. Most of these libertarians, and because none of them, I identify with the entire package of either candidate. And so they're saying, but a lot of times libertarians or people in the center are missing out on the fact that Trump basically won the presidency as an independent, because he was a registered Democrat for 20 years, and then he ran as a Republican and conquered the Republican Party, even though he has no real socially conservative message other than, build the wall. But like the fact that he defeated from moment one the Republican Party should be a sign of hope, I think, to people that are disenfranchised on both sides of the aisle, that an outsider can't come in and wreak havoc in these parties, because they don't actually understand the power of the technology at hand. So we're going to see some pretty interesting stuff happen. I was actually a little bit I'm sorry, we're getting way off topic here. I was actually a little bit hopeful when some of the shenanigans that were happening in the Democrat debate with Marianne Williamson and Tulsi Gabbard. I actually donated to Tulsi's campaign because I wanted to see her at least have a place on the stage. Because she, you have to have a critical mass of supporters or whatever to get on one of the debate stages. But she's real anti-war. She's one of the few candidates we've had in years that is. So I want her voice to be up there. And then Marianne Williamson was saying stuff that wasn't appropriate for a Democrat or a Republican to say, and so I was kind of hopeful for her. So I think more and more we'll see some of these people kind of come out of the woodwork. So where did this person come from? And
I thought Gabbard won that debate just because
so many people searched for her. Oh, and then the smoking gun, baby.
Recently,
Google shut down her ads when she was being searched. $50 million lawsuit. Go Tulsi. Like, I hope they pay through the teeth. I hope they have to pay $100 million. That is a campaign contribution I can get behind. Google have to pay through the teeth for Tulsi because they messed up their own product. Screw Google, dude. Yeah.
I could get behind that too. But to get back to just to wrap things up, what do we take from all this? From Trump to Tulsi to Cruz. What can we put, like, I know Ford, you're talking about like the greater when you're talking about we, them, but for you personally,
that's a lot of we, probably.
That's all right. I just, can we bring it to a personal place? Because I think there is something in me. There is something in me that struggles. There is a struggle when I think of Cruz. There is a struggle of when I see that slick trailer, it's beautifully shot. I think there is something that at one point, simultaneously is repulsed by the stylized aspect of it and is attracted by the how constant and productive it is. Or he is, how productive Cruz is.
I would say my personal responsibility, plea or hope in the next couple of years is that I want to make my own myth. And so if that means me and Jared making a what is that thing called? Bloodwork.
Yeah.
Bloodwork 2 trailer. We just need to do that. We just need to keep the aesthetic of those. Have you ever seen the the Power Thirst commercial where they just use images? It's like Power Thirst. You could jump into a volcano. Power Thirst. It's just this terribly, but it's all about the writing, basically. It's just this terribly animated, not even really animated. So do something like that. Just focus on making our own myth in a fun way, utilizing the technology at hand without trying to make some gigantic spectacle. I was inspired this week. Someone on Twitter I follow, Logo Daedalus, a kid I like, he's real smart. He's the one that introduced me to Marshall McLuhan. Really well-read kid. He's written his own book, and he has some good takes, and he recommended Jimmy Eat World out of the blue. And I've been looking for
Jimmy World.
Yeah, I've been looking for this one Jimmy Eat World song, and I couldn't remember it. And so I just decided to watch the music video for In the Middle. And I was like, it's got this kind of sexy thumbnail. And I'm like, this seems very contrary to the message of the song. And I watched that music video, and it was such a fantastic bait and switch. It might be my favorite piece of motion video art that I've seen since Too Many Cooks. And it was done back in 2001, right around the September 11th attacks time period. It's a fantastic subversion of contemporary consumer hookup culture. And it's just like the balls of a pop punk band to do that in the 2000s. It was just so countercultural. It's a fantastic little video. I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that kind of thing that maybe it's not like a giant big screen, hugely produced, but has something that can, a little, not just an earworm, but ideals worm. You know, it kind of gets in your head and makes you think and yields fruit years later. I mean, that's 18 years after the fact that I was like, I got butt kicking from Jimmy Eat World. And so I think that that's a way to do it. You know, I think Tom Cruise has been that too. I mean, I think he's had his moments where he's definitely put something in our committed inception through his art, with even through pop culture.
Jared?
Oof, I don't know. I don't know what my takeaway is from Tom Cruise. I don't know.
What's your takeaway from this discussion? Like, what do you like? What's hitting you? What is convicting you? You know?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I have just a lot of like we've covered a wide range of stuff. So,
Absolutely.
I think I think I still like I disagree with Ford on I still get so much out of entertainment, just these little like character moments. So I disagree on the swearing off movies part.
Well, and I won't live up to that. Let's go ahead and be honest. You're going to come down here. We're going to watch a movie together.
Right.
I think it just means a shift of focus.
Yeah.
I think I want to try to wean myself off of watching and slowly but surely over the course of the next decade making. You know,
yeah.
That's kind of the idea.
There you go. I agree. Yeah, but I mean, just back to Cruise. I mean, I think, like I said, I do admire the fact that even though he is sort of this dying breed or this like bygone of a past era or something, like he's still doing it, you know, like he's still managing to make it work. And I kind of, I guess, admired you were talking about the theme of just like him running, like always running towards something. I don't know, part of me kind of admires that a little bit because his characters always do, especially I think since he's become more known for Mission Impossible. But even going back to Minority Report, where he was like running from the authorities, and you know, because I feel like that's a lot of the dreams that I have is like I'm being chased by something, or used to, not as much necessarily anymore, but for a long time in my life, I was like dreams I would have would be like being chased by something, or you know, running towards something or something like that. So so I think maybe, you know, on a smaller level, his movies and the characters he plays appeal to me because of that. So I guess I'm kind of curious to see, like, you know, as he gets on up there, because I guess he's probably what, like 60-ish now.
Yeah, he's pretty close. He's 57, I think.
Yeah. Like what, you know, at some point he's, no matter how good a shape you're in, I mean, he's gonna have to either somewhat alter the character he plays or do fewer of his stunts or something. So maybe one of the things I'm most curious about is to see like where his character goes, because like you said, with Top Gun Maverick being this sort of meta commentary on his career, we'll get to see what happens with that character, but what happens with Tom Cruise going forward. So I'm that's maybe my takeaway is I'm really curious to see, like, I hadn't really thought about Tom Cruise that much up and, you know, in years up until the Top Gun Maverick trailer. And then you pointing out kind of the meta commentary on that, like now that's made me more curious to see where his career goes. That's my takeaway.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining me.
Wait. What's yours?
Oh, my takeaway? I thought I started with it.
Maybe you did. Yeah.
I think ultimately, I want to have that singular focus and dedication that Tom Cruise has. The conviction for me is, can I be somebody who puts aside my own, you know, when we were talking about sacrifice earlier in the other podcast, you know, success takes sacrifice. Either you sacrifice yourself or you sacrifice other people. And can I sacrifice myself, my pleasures, my comfort, for success? Can I, And going back to what Ford's saying, can I, instead of watching vicariously, can I actually do it myself and take inspiration rather than vicariously? What is it? What do you call it when you watch somebody like through the window?
Voyeurism.
Oh yeah, yeah. So can I bring it from voyeurism to inspiration? That's my goal. Is for these guys, not just Tom Cruise, but like there's a lot of these teetotalers, people that are sold out for success. What can I take from that? I can take that there's going to be sacrifice, and it's going to take self-sacrifice, and to be inspired to self-sacrifice. I don't know.
And another meta commentary of having to move forward is this is probably the last Google Hangouts because it goes away on August 1st.
That's right.
Oh, really?
So this is so you're gonna have to find a new use whatever other YouTube system next time.
We're gonna have to do something different, huh? Like
Yeah.
Zoom is an option. I've done that before. But it's not as good because I love the aspect of like when we're done, it just it goes to my videos,
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything.
Right.
Good point.
So, yeah, very meta, very bygone. Got to move forward.
All right, guys. Well, get out there. There's a lot to build.
Make your own myth. Oh. Make your own myth.
Keep moving forward.
Oh, man. Oh, which reminds